A two-bedroom house sold in America recently for $23,000. Not a down payment, not a land lease. The entire house, deed, keys, yours. At first glance, that sounds like the financial cheat code of the century. The kind of listing that makes you slam your laptop shut and start Googling U-Haul rates at midnight. But here is the thing. When homes get this cheap inside the United States, it is almost never because the seller is feeling generous.
It is because something about the town stopped working. Sometimes it is the economy. Sometimes it is the infrastructure. Sometimes it is the weather, the crime, the water, or all four at once. Today we are breaking down 10 towns where houses sell for used car prices, the real operational reality of living in each one, and where the financial arbitrage might actually be worth your calculated risk. Stay until the end, because one of these towns is so cheap and so livable that it might genuinely make you start pricing flights tonight. Number 1. Cairo, Illinois. Picture yourself in Cairo, Illinois, standing in front of a gorgeous 1800s brick mansion with 12-foot ceilings, original hardwood floors, and an asking price of $23,000. Here is what nobody tells you. The house next door has been boarded up since the Clinton administration. Cairo sits at the geographic confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, once a legitimate shipping powerhouse. After the 1970s industrial collapse and sustained racial tensions that drove businesses out faster than a recession, the population cratered from 15,000 people to under 2,000. Median rent hovers around $550. Cost of living runs 30% below the national average. Translation: you can afford to breathe here, but you better have your own oxygen supply because the local economy ran out years ago. The infrastructure is aging past the point of dignity. Flood risk is constant and underpriced in most listing disclosures. Grocery stores are sparse. Healthcare access would be described charitably as limited and honestly as non-existent. Some blocks of Cairo look less like a functioning American town and more like a film set someone forgot to tear down after the apocalypse movie wrapped. Number 2. Gary. Indiana fixer-uppers in Gary regularly list between $20,000 and $35,000. The median home price sits around $70,000, and you are 40 minutes from downtown Chicago. Real talk, that proximity is both the selling point and the cognitive dissonance. Gary was once one of the wealthiest industrial cities in America. When the steel industry collapsed, the population fell from 178,000 residents to roughly 69,000.
Thousands of houses were simply abandoned, left standing like teeth in a broken jaw. Here is the thing. You are buying Chicago proximity at rural pricing, but the neighborhood quality varies so wildly block to block that your due diligence cannot be a drive-by. It has to be a forensic audit. Insurance costs in Gary regularly exceed what buyers expect. Renovation estimates on those $20,000 shells frequently land between $80,000 and $120,000 once you open the walls.
Translation: the cheap house is a construction loan in disguise. Number 3. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Homes under $30,000 are common in Pine Bluff. Median rent runs about $700 a month. But here is what nobody tells you. The housing is cheap because the jobs are not there. And the jobs are not there because the people left. And the people left because the jobs were not there. That cycle has been running since the 1980s. Pine Bluff lost its manufacturing base and has struggled for decades to attract replacement industry. Population has dropped nearly 40% since its peak. Crime rates remain among the highest in the state of Arkansas. Translation: you are not buying a hidden gem. You are buying into a desperation market and hoping your personal situation insulates you from the local economic reality. For remote workers with stable income, that calculation can work. For anyone depending on local employment, it almost certainly will not. Number 4. Detroit, Michigan. Select neighborhoods. Through the Detroit Land Bank, homes have literally sold for $1,000. Most fixer-uppers in the distressed neighborhoods land between $20,000 and $40,000. Here is the thing. Detroit's story is more complicated than its cheapest headlines suggest. The city lost over 1 million residents during the auto industry's long collapse. That exodus left entire neighborhoods vacant, which left tax bases hollow, which left building codes inconsistently enforced, which left you, the prospective buyer, holding a structure that looks like a house but functions like a renovation project with a mailing address. Roof, plumbing, electrical, budget, a realistic $80,000 to $120,000 on top of your purchase price before you declare victory. Taxes and insurance will also arrive higher than your initial spreadsheet assumed. Translation: Detroit's cheapest houses are not cheap. They are deferred construction costs wearing a real estate listing as a costume. Number 5. Flint. Michigan homes in Flint list regularly between $20,000 and $40,000. Median rent sits around $800. Real talk, Flint carries the weight of a water crisis that became a national symbol of infrastructure failure and governmental neglect. The population has shrunk by nearly half since 1960.
Some neighborhoods are genuinely in recovery, with renovated homes and functioning blocks. Others are still catching their breath between empty lots and vacancy. But here is what nobody tells you. Flint's cost of living arbitrage is real for buyers who do their homework on specific zip codes. The desperation market created genuine opportunities in pockets of the city that have stabilized. The risk is that you cannot evaluate Flint as a monolith. You have to evaluate it street by street.
And you have to verify infrastructure details that a standard inspection will not surface. Number 6. Clarksdale, Mississippi. Historic homes under $25,000. Cost of living approximately 28% below the national average. Picture yourself in Clarksdale, Mississippi, sitting on a front porch on a Saturday night, listening to live Delta blues drifting out of a bar 2 blocks away. The culture here is not fabricated for tourists. It is the gold standard of authentic American musical heritage. Here is the thing. Clarksdale is a cultural gem sitting inside an economic drought. Tourism keeps the lights on, but the economy remains fragile in a way that a single slow season can expose. Healthcare access and high-paying jobs are genuinely limited. Translation: This town is a retirement cheat code if your income travels with you, and a financial trap if it does not. Number 7. East St. Louis, Illinois homes in East St. Louis run $25,000 to $40,000. The St. Louis skyline is visible from certain streets. That view across the river represents 2 economies separated by a bridge. East St. Louis once thrived as a manufacturing hub, feeding the broader metro area. When industry left, the tax base collapsed with a speed that gutted public services for a generation. Crime and infrastructure challenges are not historical footnotes here. They are present-tense operational considerations that affect your daily lived reality. Translation: You are buying into the shadow of a great city at a severe discount, and that discount reflects a risk premium the listing price does not explain. Number 8. Youngstown. Ohio homes in Youngstown sell regularly between $25,000 and $35,000. Median rent runs about $750. Youngstown's steel industry collapse wiped out tens of thousands of jobs in a compressed timeline that the city's social infrastructure was never built to absorb. What remains is a town with genuinely cheap housing, a slow but measurable downtown recovery, and winters that will make you question every life choice that led you to northeastern Ohio in February. Translation: The economic ladder exists here. It is just shorter than average, and the weather charges you a psychological toll for every rung. Number 9. Macon, Mississippi homes, under $23,000. A small rural town with limited amenities and the kind of quiet that either heals you or drives you to madness, depending on your personality type. Real talk. Macon is a retirement cheat code if you arrive with income already established. The nearest major hospital is over an hour away, which is not a minor inconvenience. It is a medical infrastructure gap that should appear in your risk assessment before it appears in your emergency. Heat here is not a season. It is a presence. Number 10. Welch, West Virginia. Historic homes selling between $20,000 and $30,000 in a mountain town that was once one of the wealthiest coal communities in America. Picture yourself in Welch, West Virginia. Fog sitting heavy over Appalachian ridgelines. Quiet streets frozen somewhere between the 1950s and the present day. When coal collapsed, the economy went with it, and the young people followed the economy out. What remains is genuinely beautiful, deeply isolated, and boring enough to make your bank account extremely happy, provided your income does not require a local job market that no longer exists. Cheap housing in America did not disappear. It migrated to the places most people stopped looking. The pattern across every town we covered today is consistent. When homes sell for $23,000, it is because the main industry collapsed, the population moved away, or the location became economically isolated, and usually some combination of all three. But here is what nobody tells you at scale. That does not automatically make these places wrong for you.
For a remote worker, a retiree, or a disciplined investor, these markets represent one of the last genuine cost of living arbitrage opportunities left in the American housing market. The cognitive dissonance most people experience when they see these prices is a feature, not a bug. It keeps the competition low. Here is the thing. The safe approach is not complicated. Visit before you buy.
Budget for renovations that a cheap purchase price will not cover. Verify septic systems, building codes, and infrastructure status that standard disclosures quietly omit. And make absolutely sure, that your income does not depend on a local economy that already proved it cannot sustain itself. Because the real secret is not finding a cheap house. It is finding a cheap house in a place where your actual life still functions. Stop paying for a lifestyle you cannot afford in a city that does not need you. Your bank account deserves a more strategic operator. Subscribe, because this channel exists for people who audit their financial reality instead of performing it.